Okay. So I hope you had a great lunch. I will begin with a simple question. What do we, as DevOps, actually want? Well, obviously a lot of things, but mainly we want to avoid downtime. And what's great is that the Odoo Shell is a tool that can help you with that. To give you a bit more of context, I've been a software developer for the R&D internal team for more than 5 years now. And basically, for those unaware, we are the team in charge of everything that touches Odoo.com. So this includes the website, of course, the Odoo Online platform, and even the Odoo instance that we use to manage ourselves. So, as you guessed, it's a lot of responsibilities since we are the ones that are called when everything is on fire. So, what does it have to do with the Odoo Shell? Well, you see, the Odoo Shell is kinda like a fire extinguisher, that red thing over there. Because everyone knows what it is, nobody really knows what's in it, or even sometimes how to use it. Now there is a major difference with the Odoo Shell. While it's great for emergencies, of course, it's also great in the day-to-day life of a developer, and that's what I am hoping to demonstrate here with you today. So, as you can see, there is a QR code for question. It will come back every now and then during the presentation. I will give you a few moments to scan it if there is a need to, so don't worry with that. Now, let's get into it and answer the first question. What's in it? Well, the Odoo Shell is simply a Python console environment loaded with Odoo. So that means you can have direct interaction with the ORM, and all of its subsequent functionalities. So that sounds nice and all, of course, but now, how to use it? Run it is pretty straightforward, actually. You just have to type the shell parameter next to your command, and this is a few flags that you probably want. -d for the database, of course, if you want to load your database. The add-ons parts, of course, and you probably also want no HTTP, since if you have an already running instance of Odoo, you will avoid conflict thanks to this. Anyway, you don't even need a HTTP port when you are in a shell environment. The default shell interface is IPython. That's the one I will use during this presentation too, mainly because it's the one I'm the most comfortable with, but also because it has great use with its magic built-in commands. I will show a bit more about it later. You can run a file directly from not even from the shell, just like this. Just keep in mind that the shell will not be kept open after it. But if you want, you can use a file as an init script to preload whatever you want. Just keep in mind that this will override the Python startup environment variable. You can also run inline code directly from your console thanks to the end of file signal. And for Odoo SH, it's even simpler. You just have to type the shell parameter and everything will be set up for you. Now, once we are in the shell, I suppose you have specified a database here. So you have an environment. And it will be the environment of the user with the ID 1, so the super user. So it means you also have self, which is the record set of the user of the ID 1. And from that point, you can import whatever Odoo module that you want, or even available Python module that you want, as long as they are available, of course. There is one exception, though. It's the request module. Since we are not in a HTTP transaction, we can't use it, but we have a way to work around that problem. I will explain it a bit later in this presentation. And another thing to keep in mind is that we are running this in transaction mode. So there is no automatic commit. If you want to actually change data, you'll have to explicitly commit every time. So what can be done with this tool? I will cover here three aspects. The one will be analyzing, test code, visualize what the ORM is doing, benchmark, fetch raw data, debug, do breakpoints without even have to restart the server, and the spicy part, maintain, live deploying new features, live fixing problems, unlocking heavy crowns, stuff like that. So if you have questions so far, QR code again. And if it's good for you, we can dive into the first part. So to visualize, there is a great flag that's called the log SQL flag. And this basically will show you every SQL query that's run when you execute some codes in the shell. Here, for example, as you can see, I search for CRM tags that have spam in their name. And as you can see, you just have the query here just beneath it. Now, what's great with this is that you can use it to monitor the Odoo cache. Let me demonstrate. Here, we mapped the tags we searched before by name. So you see the query that's done to fetch the information we need for that. And if I do it again, this time no query are done because it's in our cache. Now it also means that you can, and so if I manually invalidate the cache, you can see that the query will be run again. Now it's one other great thing that you can see with this is what data is actually inserted in the database. Another example here. So we create a new tag with the name new tag. You can see it fetch before some values that are actually for default values, and only then insert it in your table. And you can see that there is just not only the new tag name, but also all the dates, default colors, stuff like that. Now there is another kind of obscure mechanism in Odoo, which is a flush mechanism, and that's something you can also visualize with the shell. And we'll keep with our example. So the new tag we just created, we write a new color on it here, and as you can see, at this point, no query are done. But if I manually trigger the flush, you then will see the actual updates done in table. So now, let's write a new name. As you can see, same situation as before, no query at this point. But if I do the same search that I did at the very beginning of this section, you will see that it will actually trigger the flush and do the update in the table before fetching the data that I have that I need. And now that I have used mapped again, I have now menu rename tag that's in the list, and you can also notice that no query has done here since it was put in the cache by the previous query. So benchmark now, let's talk a bit about that. It's also something you can do with the shell, thanks to a great tool from the IPython built-in magic command, which is time it. So to illustrate, I will take an example. Let's say we have a database with a lot of sell orders, and we just take a subset of 100 of them. So there is two ways to achieve the same things here, which is to order sell order by partners for some reasons. The first one is using the group by from ITER tools, and the second one is using a custom grouping I did here just for the example. Now here already, you can notice that the group by from ITER tools took about 0.2 milliseconds, which is great, and the custom grouping took about 4 milliseconds, which is also kinda great, or at least negligible, but you can already see here there is a quite big difference. So let's make sure that this difference is relevant by taking now a subset of 5,000 sell orders. And immediately, you can see now that from the group by from iterators, we went for 0.2 milliseconds to 10 milliseconds, but the custom grouping went to 11 seconds, which of course is a lot less acceptable. So this shows us that this way is definitely not the way to go. Now debugging. Again, giving a few time for the QR code if you need, but I think it's okay. So debugging. Let's say we have an exception when creating a new CRM tag. I will show you now 3 ways to debug that, thanks to magic built-in IPython commands again. So we can use a debug, the magic command debug, which is a top-to-bottom approach. And so it's stepping to reach the point that you want, and it can be a bit tedious depending on the size of your call stack, of course. But there is also the bottom-up approach with PDB that will be automatically called on an exception, but that of course implies that you have to have an exception, and sometimes you want to add your breakpoint on a precise point without even having an exception, and you can actually do that with debug2 by specifying the file and the line number. And now what's great with these three methods is that you don't even need to restart your server while doing that. Now, if you remember what I said earlier, I said that request was not available. Well, we have a tool for that actually, which is mock request. Now, it's a little side note here, but since it's a recent change, I mention it here. For those that already knew about mock request, it was before in the website tools, and it has been moved now in HTTP routing test command. So now you know, and this will be like that from now on. Mock request. As you can see, it's used as a context manager loaded with your environment. So you can call request.env as usual. And it has also many arguments that you can use, but I will not cover them here. But know that all this code is public, so I invite you to see the actual definition in the code. There is plenty of options you can use. And of course, you can set whatever attributes you want on it. There is no limitation with that. Now, to actually debug a controller with it, it's kind of straightforward too. You just import the controller class from your modules. And from that point, you use mock request as a context manager, as I showed you. And you can just put the debug command, which is the step-in approach that I showed you just before. And you can also call PDB automatically on exception too. And finally, set a precise breakpoint, of course, by specifying the file and the line number. Now we reach the third part, which is maintaining. So the spicy part. This is where things can be very dangerous. So I have to remind you to always test what you are doing with what I'm about to show you first. Because that's also where things can go very, very wrong. Okay, now, the key perks of the Odoo Shell. This is where we can really harness the power of the shell. Why? Because in the Odoo Shell, we don't have to deal with soft limits. That means we can ignore all time and memory restrictions. So we can handle heavy crowns that could have been blocked by those restrictions. But of course, you have to keep an eye on your hard limits. So it's always a good idea to have an htop tab open to see how much memory is taken, because that could mean there is a heavier problem at hand that you'll have to deal with first. Another great thing is that it's safer than SQL. Why? Because it's ORM powered simply. So it means you'll have the Python constraints that are respected and all the side effects that will be triggered. So it's a more natural way to introduce new data than using raw SQL. Now, let's have an example of processing a large data set. We have to keep in mind that we have to cohabit with live transactions, and that means there is a high risk of concurrent updates. Now it's the same design rules as cron that we have to use. I will not dive too deep into that, but I invite you to see the talk of my colleague Thibaut François, who goes over it extensively during its presentation. But the basics are process in batch, commit often, be reentrant, be able to interrupt your process whenever you want and resume it wherever you want. And I'm also giving you another magic built-in command from IPython, which is cpaste. Basically, this allows you to write code beforehand on whatever code editor that you use, and with cpaste, it will properly paste it, formatted and all, in your shell. So, another small example here. When I use split every from all tools, I take all the leads and I split them by batch of 1,000 leads each. I do whatever process I need to do. And of course, I commit every time, as I said, at the end of my batch. It's also a good idea to keep an eye on your progress, since if it takes too much time, it probably means that there is a bigger problem at play here. So you may have to investigate first on why even a batch of 1,000 leads it's so slow. Recompute fields, sometimes that's something you need to do for a lot of records. And we also have a tool for that, which is a bit hidden. It's from the upgrade util repository, which is public. You can find it on our GitHub. We will use the commit strategy because we want to end the transaction as soon as possible. And to load the upgrade util, you just have to use the flag upgrade path. And here take the path, that's the default path of a repository, like that. And you can see in my example here, so I add that path, then I import it from Odoo upgrade, and from there I can call recompute fields, where here I recompute the automated probability fields for the defined set of leads, as you can see here. Surgical deployment, so that's probably the most powerful thing that we can do with the shell, and also the most dangerous one. But it can be great for us and big database, and here is why. The full module update is of course the intended way to do. It's perfectly fine to use it, but it's more relevant for small database, small modules also, but mainly, and the most important, if you can afford the downtime, of course. Now, with the Odoo Shell, what's great is that you can actually only update the relevant model, only update the relevant data, and of course, at most, you'll need a server restart, which is a downtime of a few seconds at most. So, in some cases, it can be very, very interesting. Now, test first, yes, as I said earlier, this is pretty dangerous. Always test first before executing stuff in the shell in live production. Now, to deploy any changes, basically the process will be like this. You will call init models from the registry. This will create and alter the tables relevant to our model from a new module here, for example, my module. And this will also reflect the constraints and the heritage if it's needed. From that point, you probably want to import the new views and data, and we have conval file for that. This will process a whole file actually and import it. So it works with views, but it also works with data. And actually, it even works with CSV files or even SQL files. Now, I would advise against SQL files because this will basically just run the queries that you have there, and it's always good to have a feedback on what you're doing, especially with SQL query. But still it exists, I'll mention it. Now there's another limitation with conval file, and that's the fact that sometimes you don't want to overwrite data that's in your XML file that may be different in your production for whatever reasons. And you want to be able to deploy things more precisely than that. Well, we have for that another tool from the upgrade repository that I told you about earlier for the recompute fields, which is update record from XML. So basically, this will update a record based on its XML ID, and it can be very great when you have to update only specific parts of your data. Once everything is done, and we suppose you didn't have any issue at all, you can of course commit, since there is no automatic commit. You are in transaction mode. And once that's done, you just need a server restart at most, assuming you have new assets and new Python code to run, of course. And just like that, we can do pretty big change while needing a few seconds of time at most. So we are now reaching the conclusion. As we saw, the Odoo Shell is a powerful tool for learning and testing, for debugging on whatever environment, be it staging or even production, and for maintenance in deployment. But remember, it can also do great damages. So always test first, be aware that there can be side effects even with the ORM. Be reviewed. It's always a good idea to have a second pair of eyes of what you are doing. Sometimes you're in a forest and you can see a tree in front of you, it happens. And also assert that the final result is what you expect. And now my final advice will be to simply try it yourself. It's a really useful tool. We use it in our team almost every day. And yeah, I hope it can be useful for you too. So thank you. It's time for the question and answer now, I guess.
So we have some questions from the audience. The first one is a feature request, but I'll pose it as a question. Will it ever be possible to connect to two different databases with Odoo CLI?
Sorry, this one?
Yeah.
Able to connect two different databases with the shell?
Yeah.
Maybe talk to me after because I'm not sure what you mean by that, to be honest.
So for now it's not possible. Maybe in the future I don't think we'd be able to, but...
Yeah, I mean either, but yeah, we can talk about it later.
The next question is, what happens if I define a field on the CLI and flush? Will my field be correctly added?
That's a good question. I have to check with the Python framework to see how exactly it works. I think it should be fine, but the flush can sometimes do obscure things, as I said, and that's not my area of expertise, to be honest. So I will not give a guaranteed answer on that, sorry.
Okay, the next question is, will you be able to share the slides?
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can send you the link. You can see me. I'll send you. No problem.
And is it possible to force a no concurrent update with Odoo Shell?
No, unfortunately no. And usually when you are in such case, you just try until it works. And that you are not in a concurrent. But yeah, that's a limitation.
Okay, and the next question is it better to use a add to recompute or the recompute util?
I say it depends on the case, honestly. I think both are fine, but better depends on what are the needs. Yeah, I don't know. We can talk about it later too.
Okay. The next one is not really a question; it's just a statement. Run unit tests on the shell. So I guess.
Yes, it's totally possible, but yeah, you just have to import to test class and you can run it from that. There is no problem with it. Did I not discover it, but it's possible, yeah.
Okay. And then the next one is stop after init still necessary?
It's, sorry?
Stop after init. Stop after initialize.
I'm not sure about that. Sorry, I have to check.
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think either, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not necessary. From which version is init model available?
Oh, it's an old method actually, so probably even something like 10. So it's widely available.
So it's been around for a while. How do you start with it? How to enter an Odoo Shell on a normal terminal? And the answer is being typed for you from someone in our audience, which is Odoo bin shell or your Python 3. And the answer will be right.
Oh, okay. Yes, thanks to the person answering.
Thanks to the person who's answering.
But yeah, basically, like he wrote.
Is it possible to avoid a server restart? For example, I think we are able to use iNotify to detect file changes.
Maybe it is, but that's not something that we support currently, at least.
And the last question is, wouldn't it be better to disable HTTP by default in the shell context?
In the shell context, yeah, it's a design decision that it's not on me, but yes, it's something we could do. To check with the framework team, to be honest, for the one handling the other binary.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have for now. Yeah, that seems like
okay.
It. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Have a great experience.